Thank you all for joining us today and for your interest in Janel Grant's lawsuit against Vince McMahon and the new legal filing against Dr. Colker and his clinic, Peak Wellness. For those of you who do not know me or have had the chance to work with me yet, I'm Kendra Barkoff Lamy of SKDK, and we're also joined by Janel's attorney, Ann Callis, and Erica Nolan. They're going to each give us an overview of the proceeding in Connecticut and where it stands. Before it gets started, I just want to quickly go over some of these ground rules. First, this conversation is on the record. We'll be taking questions at the end. So if you have a question, please use the raise your hand function to ask. Secondly, we've heard from a few of you who are interested in speaking with a human trafficking expert. Happy to connect anybody with experts in this space to talk about the psychological dilemma that many survivors face who have been human trafficked or who are being human trafficked. So feel free to reach out to us after this call, and we're happy to connect you all with that person. In the meantime, I'd like to turn it over to Ann.
Thank you, Kendra. Before we discuss the latest filing, I'd like to share a little bit about who Janel is. First, Janel Grant is a survivor of incomprehensible abuse, sexual assault, and human trafficking at the hands of Vince McMahon, John Laurinaitis, and the WWE. Their abuse harmed almost every aspect of her life. Janel is kind, smart, and compassionate, but because of the extreme cruelty, degradation, exploitation, and violence she was subjected to on a nearly daily basis for more than 2 years, she now suffers from severe post-traumatic stress disorder, suicidal ideation, and the inability to leave her home for weeks at a time. Today, we submitted a new legal filing against Dr. Carlon Colker, a physician of former WWE CEO Vince McMahon's payroll, and Peak Wellness, Inc., the medical clinic owned by Dr. Colker. Due to the abuse she suffered, Janel was desperate for medical help, and she trusted licensed professionals to approach her care with the utmost seriousness. Dr. Colker instead violated ethical and medical standards and routinely broke the doctor-patient trust integral to proper treatment. When Janel needed medical care due to Vince McMahon's sexual and emotional abuse, McMahon made her go to a clinic called Peak Wellness, where one of her abusers worked. She was receiving treatment there from November 2019 to April 2022 at the direction of McMahon. The abuser at the clinic was a physical therapist and a third person involved in an incident where McMahon defecated on Janel's head and forced her to continue to engage in sexual acts with the Peak Wellness employee. At Peak Wellness, Dr. Colker, who runs the clinic, also directed Janel to take mystery pills daily and forced her to accept intravenous infusions of unknown contents. He is now wrongfully withholding Janel's full personal medical records in violation of federal and state law. Janel has been asking for those records and for the message history between Dr. Colker and McMahon regarding Janel since February. Dr. Colker was on McMahon's payroll and obtained access to Janel's private medical records, dictated her treatments, and often coerced Janel into continuing her treatments at Peak Wellness. Now, my colleague Erica will give you more details on the new legal filing against Dr. Colker. Erica?
July 1st, 2024, we filed a bill of discovery petition against Dr. Colker and Peak Wellness to gain access to Janel's full electronic medical and billing records, as well as all messages between Dr. Colker and McMahon regarding Janel. This action came after Peak Wellness repeatedly refused to comply with Janel's document records. In response, McMahon and Dr. Colker made several attempts and separate attempts to block Janel's filing, which have now been dismissed. We believe Dr. Colker is withholding Janel's medical and billing records because they may prove that he and Peak Wellness were involved in McMahon's abuse, exploitation, and violence against Janel. Additionally, these records are key to investigating whether Dr. Colker engaged in civil conspiracy falsifying medical records, aiding and abetting, fraud, Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act, RICO violations, RICO conspiracy, assault, battery, and or breaches of fiduciary duty against Janel, and could lead to additional legal actions against him. All patients have the right to receive their full medical records under federal and state law. On 2 separate occasions prior to the filing of this action, Janel requested her full electronic medical records from Peak Wellness, only to be provided with incomplete paper records, which can be easily manipulated. After filing the bill of discovery, Dr. Colker did send us some things, but it is by no means complete in terms of what we are looking for. Specifically, Janel has requested 8 different categories of records from Peak Wellness, including her electronic medical records, including all associated metadata, Dr. Colker and Peak Wellness's record keeping and billing procedures, payment records relating to Janel, Dr. Colker and Peak Wellness's payment arrangements with McMahon and or WWE, the purpose of Janel's prescribed treatments, the substance of Janel's prescribed treatments, any communications with Dr. Colker and McMahon or any other third party relating to Janel, and Dr. Colker's involvement in recommending Janel's attorney for negotiation of the purported non-disclosure agreement. Today's filing is a step in the right direction. We aim to hold all parties accountable to the fullest extent of the law, ensuring those who created, perpetuated, concealed, and benefited from Janel's abuse never have the opportunity to hurt anyone else. Janel would like to expedite all proceedings as quickly as possible and welcomes the possibility of additional charges from federal prosecutors. Dr. Colker and Peak Wellness, much like McMahon, Laurinaitis, and WWE, failed Janel. In a time of serious trauma due to her years of sexual abuse and human trafficking at the hands of McMahon and Laurinaitis, Janel was forced to undergo undisclosed treatments at a clinic in which one of her abusers worked. Janel deserves her day in court. Janel deserves justice.
Thank you both. We're going to turn it over to open up for questions. If you could just please announce your name and publication and unmute yourself as well. So we'll start with Brian Zalim. Sorry if I pronounced your name incorrectly.
Oh, no worries, Kendra. This is Brian Zillum from PW Torch, and specifically, you had mentioned Dr. Colker was on Vince McMahon's payroll. To your knowledge, are you aware of anybody on the WWE board of directors? Were they aware at all of the at least 60 visits Janel Grant made to Peak Wellness or Dr. Colker?
Yeah, Brian, I'm not sure of that because when they had the internal investigation due to some of these allegations, Janel made herself available for interview, and then she learned that the investigation was closed and cleared, and she was never spoken to. So I'm not sure the extent of what the board knew, but we know that she did go there 60 times. We also know that she was getting progressively worse. Even the records that we received that are incomplete show that she was not getting any better with these treatments, with these infusions, with these unknown pills. And just imagine, trying to seek medical attention for feeling emotionally and physically drained and headaches and everything else that comes with trauma to your body, and you just get worse.
Next, we're going to go with Brandon. Great.
Hi, Brandon Thurston from Wrestlenomics and Post Wrestling. I know you're pointing out that there may be RICO here, and I'm sure you don't want to raise any allegations that you're not yet ready to raise, but would it be plausible to take away that you're looking into whether Dr. Colker and his clinic supported a sex trafficking effort that involved Vince McMahon?
We don't know that, but we are seeking these records because we believe that there could be very serious allegations amended to our complaint. So That's what we're looking for. We don't have any metadata. We don't have any of the communications between Vince and Dr. Colker and employees of Peak Wellness. We don't have the substance of what was in these pills and infusions, the purpose of these pills and infusions, what involvement this attorney for Peak Wellness was in recommending her for the negotiation of the NDA. So it's really a global effort to get as much information as we can to get justice for Janel.
Great. Next, we're going to go with Scott Johnson. Scott, if you want to unmute yourself.
Yes, I'm unmuted. Sorry. Yes, this is Scott Johnson with the Going Ringside podcast. For Ms. Callis, I have a broader legal question for you. You guys have been, for the last 2 weeks, kind of opening a legal strategy, asking for the NDAs to be withdrawn from WWE last week. Now you're talking about this issue as you have a hold on the case right now because of the DOJ investigation. My question for you is if this does eventually move forward and go to trial, is there anyone, no matter how high profile, you're not willing to ask to testify or compelled to be part of this trial? Because McMahon is very close to some extremely high profile people.
Well, we filed this lawsuit knowing who Mr. McMahon is, knowing about the WWE and John Laurinaitis. We can guarantee there will not be a stone unturned in our pursuance of seeking justice for Janel. We won't be intimidated.
Any other questions from anybody else? No? Well, thank you all for joining today and for continuing your coverage on this important issue. Please feel free to reach out to us if you have additional questions or need anything else. And I'm sure we will be in touch. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.